Hi everyone and welcome to this wonderful interview with lecturer Robin Collins, who is the lecturer on the Advanced Diploma in Transpersonal Therapies. So welcome Robin, it's really nice to have you here today.
Thank you, Faye. It's nice to be here too.
Brilliant. Okay, so this interview is going to be about the course and about the journey that Robin has taken to be where he is today. So we're just going to start with the first question. So Robin, how did you end up teaching this course? What's your journey into counselling?
Oh gosh, no, that is a very big question. But in terms of the course itself, the simple answer is Rose gently badgered me to get on and do it. The more complex answer is probably it's a subject area I've been fascinated in. I think for even into my childhood. And there's an area of counselling which we call the transpersonal, which isn't explored very much on counselling courses, partly because it's something that really only emerges with practice. It's when you really get into the depth relationship with a client that there's something of the transpersonal can emerge. Having said that, it can come very soon in a relationship, but in terms of our counselling training, I think the courses at the Iron Mill give you a good solid background and a good solid basis in how to work, and it can get you started in your career as a counsellor. But then the transpersonal does emerge, it's there, and there's something about that which I really wanted to explore more, and I think having a course on it gives the opportunity for people to come and explore with me. So.
Yeah, definitely. And what do you mean by transpersonal? So for someone who doesn't really understand that word, how would you describe it?
Yeah, okay. The therapy business began with the psychodynamic, we call it now, Freud and psychoanalysis. So that was the first movement, the first force in counselling. Then came behaviourism, which in modern form is CBT and unrelated ways of working. And then there was a third force, and that was humanism. And we know that especially through person-centered and various other ways of working. I'm oversimplifying massively, but Abraham Maslow said there's something missing in those. There's something else. Now, Maslow was an atheist himself, but he actually felt that there's parts of conscious awareness which we don't in our normal day experience very often, but sometimes we do, and it is a sense of a bigger connection. It's a sense of self which transcends the self, which goes into alternate states of consciousness, which goes into areas of it's very easy to see how that can become a religious thing, or certainly a spiritual thing. But we use the transpersonal to sort of avoid getting into connotations with those words. So it's an area of human experience which Maslow recognised as being very important, but it can be missed out a lot. And he felt that's the fourth force in therapy. That's to complete the picture, basically. So the other areas are important, but the transpersonal is when the relationship goes beyond being close, beyond being therapeutic. You know, there's a connection which the self of sense is, sorry, I can't even say it now. The sense of self is transcended, and that's something which I think we all know from certain experiences in our life. You know, if we're lost in a beautiful experience in nature, we feel deeply connected with somebody. There's something where self is transcended in a way, and so it's being able to explore that. And generally in the course the way it's explored is through mindfulness in one form or another.
Brilliant, that's really great. And is mindfulness something that you practice and something you really believe in?
Mindfulness covers a great range of different things, and what I've done in the course is taken mindfulness or meditation practices from all over the world and all throughout history, and said, look, it's something which we've approached in different ways in different cultures. So for instance, we can look at some of the work that comes from Buddhism, where we know a lot about mindfulness. You know, meditation is a big part of Buddhist practice. And we don't really need the Buddhism to really get the benefit of the practices, which is really how mindfulness has appeared in the West. But there's more than Buddhism, there's Vedanta, which Buddhism was born out of, the philosophy behind Hinduism. And there's a lot of practices there which are really very interesting and worth exploring. And we can go further into the past and look at some shamanic practices where they found ways of expanding consciousness and bringing healing back as well, which again is part of the therapeutic journey. So there's a lot we can learn from all different cultures, all different places. And it's not to actually adopt those beliefs or the religion that goes with them. We can respectfully leave that alone and say yes, but we can learn about a lot about ourselves and about relationship through engaging with the practices. So it's all very practical. I do talk a bit about the background to it, but basically it's about the doing of it, the experiencing.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that kind of leads into our second question, actually. What is the course all about? So you might have touched on a few points just a second ago.
Yes, I think just about. Yeah, it's just all about that I've said. Yeah, so each day that we meet usually has a different theme to it, and a lot of them are interrelated, and they sort of lead into each other. So, for instance, we can look at Buddhism, and then we can maybe look at Taoism, and we can look at Zen. And Zen is a sort of a marriage between Buddhism and Taoism. So all of the parts are interrelated, but each day stands alone as well. So it's like looking at a particular tradition, what it says to us about therapy, what we can actually learn from it and maybe help bring into our practice as a therapist, and also into our own practices. We can adapt some mindfulness practices perhaps in our own lives, and I think Faye, they can be very beneficial in a lot of ways.
Definitely. No, it sounds really great, and it sounds like it's a nice journey for people to go on for themselves as well.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Clients.
Yeah, it's not just about hopefully being a better counsellor. It's also hopefully looking at your own spiritual journey and what that means, your own sense of self and your own self-actualization, if that's how you conceive of it, or just your own awareness and engagement with the environment and with other people. So I certainly hope it's got personal benefits as well as benefits to therapy. Yeah.
Definitely, absolutely. Thank you. And I think the last question I have for you, Robin, actually is, if someone was to join this course even, what's kind of the next steps for them? What can they take from it?
Oh, sorry, if they've done the course, you mean?
Yeah, so what's kind of the next step? So, if I came along to the course, I completed the course, what's the next step for me? How can I start using what I'd learned, essentially?
Okay. Well, it can be as simple as when I'm meeting with clients actually saying, there's a mindfulness exercise I'd like to try with you. And you don't even have to call it mindfulness. You can say there's a relaxation exercise I'd like to try with you. And on the course, I encourage people, in fact, it's part of the assessment, that you put together your own mindfulness practice, either from things that we've learned during the course or your own learning. So the idea is so that you start to be able to develop your own unique practice. Mm-hmm. So when I'm working with a client, I don't say, let's try this Buddhist thing. I'm actually working with what maybe they need at the moment. So it's being able to bring a little bit of that into the work. It does tend then to work on a deeper level. We get to the felt sense, we get to the real essence of what it's all about. But I think it does bring an extra element to the work. But I sort of feel, Faye, it's also the personal benefit as well. It's like, yes, this can bring something to my client work, but it's also bringing something in terms of my own practice. Your session with your client is 1 hour a week, but if your client can go away and do some mindfulness, well, they're taking the counselling with them, and they can bring their experiences back to the counselling process, So, it is quite wonderful, really, what you can actually get into. But Yeah, I don't know if that's answered the question or if I'm just...
It really has. I think it's just nice to know, got kind of what are the next stages or how people can use what they've learned, which sounds really great, just to have another string to go, so to speak.
My hope is that out of all the range of things that we cover, there's going to be something which somebody will say, I want to do more of this. We try some Sufi dancing, Sufi whirling, and well, everybody loves that, but it might be something that you say, well, I want to go a bit further with this, I'd like to explore it more, and maybe even get my own whirling group together, which would be wonderful, we can all be whirling, yeah. So you should come and have a go, Faye, for sure.
Thank you. I might have to. Well, thank you, Robin. That's really kind of you to come on this interview today. And if you have any questions about this course, you can contact our inquiries team, which is just inquiries@ironmill.co.uk. And we'll be more than happy to answer your questions. And if we need to send the questions on to you, Robin, then I'm sure that we can all liaise together to answer.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm fairly easy to find, so if anyone wanted to pop me a message, I'm happy to talk transpersonal, yeah.
Definitely. Okay, well, thank you, Robin. Thanks for your time.